We are live.
Hi, thank you for joining us for Archive Dive. I am Catherine Austin, and I am the curator for the Texas Archive of the Moving Image, or TAMI, a nonprofit based in Austin, Texas. Over the last 12 years, our organization has partnered with the Office of the Governor's Texas Film Commission to bring more than 40,000 moving images back to life. Our Texas Film Roundup program provides Texans with free digitization services for their films and videotapes, but more importantly, preserves and shares their uniquely Texas stories via our website, texasarchive.org. There you can watch more than 5,000 videos contributed by individuals and institutions from across the state. TAMI is accepting films and videotapes for the 2021 Texas Film Roundup right now, October 5th, through Saturday, October 30th. Registration and additional details can be found at texasarchive.org/round-up. Archive Dive typically highlights the people behind the collections on view at texasarchive.org. With support from the Society of Southwest Archivists, we chat with contributors about their materials and discover more information about those videos and the Texans who made them. The people we are going to hear from this evening are not contributors, but they are the people behind the collections. They are some of the people responsible for processing, cleaning, digitizing, and describing the collections. That's right, tonight we're going to speak to Team TAMI. To kick off this year's Texas Film Roundup, we asked our TAMI colleagues to share their favorite home movies from the archive. Now, there are more than 1,700 home movies streaming on the TAMI website right now, with more added every year, thanks to the Texas Film Roundup. So we had a wide range of content to choose from. And I'm going to get us started with this 1992 home movie from Simon's Best Little Whorehouse in Texas collection. And just a little background, Simon's Best Little Whorehouse in Texas was a drag review with songs from the stage and film musical that was created by Texas transplant Simon Bainbridge in 1982. And the show was performed in Houston and across Texas for over 2 decades, reportedly raising more than $250,000 for local AIDS charities and LGBTQ organizations. Let's roll the clip.
How y'all doing? See you in the back, I told you we'd start by 7:45. Yeah, right. We're pleased to be here, and we're pleased to be working so close to South Main. It has a special place in a lot of these girls' hearts. We chatted about how to get a lot of people here. We're doing very well. It's nice to see you all. Somebody suggested that we invite all of our old boyfriends. I said, girls, we're playing the ranch, not the dome. Too much, too much. Do you have something back there, Trasham idea? Oh, no. All right, 20 questions. What are these for? Excellent. Everything is benefiting PWA Coalition tonight, including our tips. So come up and fill these buckets. I want to see them full by the end of the show. Tonight's show is dedicated to cast members who are no longer with us. We have Carl, Maxine, Flossie Mae, Bruce, and Jan. I think they're here somewhere. Maxine would never miss a show even in her next life. And it's also to you, everybody who has friends who are no longer with us. I want you to think about them, bring them close, and have fun with them, with us tonight. We're going to have a real good time. Are you us ready to start this rodeo?
Now, we didn't show lip sync footage during tonight's stream because of music copyright concerns, but know that we have several such segments on the website, and they are all spectacular. And I picked this video to start us off because the videos from this collection are just always an instant boost of serotonin for me, probably for personal reasons. Simon was family to me, so I often heard about the show growing up. You know, my parents and relatives attended several performances in its 20-year run, but I was never old enough to go to the bars where it was being performing at the time. And then Simon passed away in 2004. So it's been a real delight for me to see footage of both him and these shows all these years later that I heard so much about. But our next pick comes from TAMI Managing Director, Elizabeth Hansen. Let's roll the clip.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Hansen, and I'm the Managing Director for the Texas Archive of the Moving Image. And I think my favorite home movie is a movie that belongs to a man named Ramon Galindo, who was a tailor, a magician, and an amateur filmmaker here in Austin, Texas. He just passed away last year, but we worked with him for several years, and we're excited to continue preserving his films and videos. This film is called Scenes of the Snow in Austin and Gone to the Dog. You can see Ramon and his dog Humphrey here. In addition to documenting his tailoring career and magic and his family, Mr. Galindo lived at the top of Riverside Drive. You're going to see his house in this home movie, and had this amazing view of downtown Austin. So throughout his home movies, they're kind of unintentional documents of the changing city of Austin. And in this one in particular is really fun because it's got two kind of novel things going on. One, it's snowing in Austin, which is always a surprise. And this is a pretty intense snow, as you can see from the footage. And then two, his dog Humphrey is kind of the star who has traveled with him along South Congress Avenue, headed towards the Capitol. Just a really beautiful piece of film from a really interesting person. And if you haven't watched Ramon's films, check out some of the ones we have online, and we're continuing to digitize and preserve those, and we'll be adding more as the years go on.
That was Elizabeth Hansen with a 1960s home movie from the Ramon Galindo collection. Next, we hear from Tammy founder and executive director, Dr. Caroline Frick. Let's roll the clip.
One of my very favorite home movies in our collection, for a number of different levels, is A.M. Harper's Pescando en Mexico from 1955. It is a color home movie. It is silent, and yet the animation, the creativity that went into this particular film continues to kind of enchant me. That's a very over-the-top term, but it's very true. I find this kind of travel home movie just one of my very favorites, and it's for a number of different reasons. One, it was one of the very first collections that we took in as an organization, which was really exciting for us. It was certainly one of the very first I can remember from a family that wanted to participate in the Texas Film Roundup program, and the moments of them bringing it to us, and the nature of the family, just the family itself was so excited to get to transfer these films and see these films. This was the collection of their father or grandfather, I think in this particular case, who was a real character. He was a real character, and you can see that through his collection. Pescando en Mexico is interesting not just because of how it represents the collection as a whole, but I would argue that kind of accidentally perhaps, it represents so much about that moment in time between Texas and Mexico. So A.M. Harper was a longtime resident, lived in Alice, Texas for a very long time, and he had his own oil trucking business. So he was a part of the oil industry, but not the kind of oil industry dynasties that you see in Dallas or in these like really big media productions. He was a part of the oil industry that's not particularly glamorous, that's not particularly known much about. He ran trucks, and that was, and that's what he did for a really long time. That afforded him the ability to travel, which is one of these. Pescando en Mexico is one of them. But he also went on safaris. He also, his whole home was kind of filled with these relics of his travel. So home movies are important because they can show us not only domestic life, but also recreation. Pescando en Mexico takes us basically from Texas in Laredo, and you cross over the border. You see him and his travel companions go through Mexico and then arrive in Mazatlan, where they do deep sea fishing. So he was a hunter and a deep sea fisherman and all this. So you see this amazing snapshot of Texas-Mexico travel. My favorite part in this in some ways is actually seeing how the border crossing in Laredo has changed. You see the impact that we have lived through of NAFTA. There are no semi-tractor trailers in this particular video. It is a very quiet border crossing and looks very, very different to how Hollywood entertainment depicts the border, or indeed how our national news media always is talking about a crisis at the Texas-Mexico border. This is just a quiet, literally a quiet border crossing. So I think that this is a very enjoyable, again, snapshot of not only a moment, but a location and a region in our country that is so misunderstood.
That was Caroline Frick with the 1955 home movie from the A.M. Harper collection. So we've met the Tammy bosses, Elizabeth and Caroline. Now let's meet the digitization team. Tammy Digital Preservation Specialist Austin Miller shares the first of 2 picks next. Let's roll the clip.
Hi, my name is Austin Miller, and together with Tiernan, who you'll be hearing from in a moment, we constitute the preservation team here at Tammy. I serve as head of preservation, and the first film that I've selected comes from something that was actually donated through the Texas Film Roundup this past go-round. It's from the Jim Cowart collection. We're just calling it Surfing, and it was filmed in 1964. I really love this footage because it just shows a couple of boys and their family in what I'm guessing is either Port Aransas, surfing. They've got their 55 Chevy. You can see them strapping their surfboards onto the roof of the car. It's just some great classic footage. A lot of people assume that there is no surfing in Texas compared to, say, California or even the upper East Coast, but that's not the case. It may not be the prettiest looking waves, but we see some kids here on a fairly choppy day giving it their best shot. And I have a personal I personally really like tagging all the 55 Chevys whenever I see them in footage that we digitize. I love this footage. The color photography is great, and it's a nice little time capsule of an era that I think is frequently sort of nostalgicized, if I can coin a phrase. But you see a lot of the kind of conventional stuff that we think of when we think of that era of Beach Boys, surf culture, beach blanket bingo, that kind of thing.
That was Austin Miller with a 1964 home movie from the Jim Cowart collection. Our next video was chosen by Tiernan O'Rourke, who joins Austin on Tammy's digitization team. Tiernan picked a 1976 home movie from the Wayne Hunter collection, another collection like Austin's that came to Tammy during last year's Texas Film Roundup. Let's roll the clip.
Hi, I picked this film from our collection of home videos because it's unique in that you get to see the kids take over the camera and get to mess around and do what they think is funny and entertaining and create sort of a narrative, as well as do some stunts, which is rare to see in any home film collection. I think it's unique, I think it's fun and entertaining, and has a great young spirit of adventure to it.
Amazing, there's much table left by that point. But that was Tiernan O'Rourke with the 1976 home movie from the Wayne Hunter collection. Tammy could not fulfill its mission to discover, preserve, and share Texas film heritage without an incredible team of interns. And one of those interns, Athena Frizzell, shares a favorite home movie next. Let's roll the clip.
Hi, I'm Athena. I'm an intern with Tammy. And one of my favorite home videos from the archive is this one from the Belle County Museum collection of the Noll family swimming at Barton Springs in 1926. And I think this video is just really joyous. It's wonderful to see a place you're so familiar with on film such a long time ago, and to see how much it's changed. It's just really enchanting, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do.
I'll just say another thing that's special about this home movie. Athena said this is the Noll family. That's George and George Jr. And Ouida Noll, the mother, is also in this footage. She'll show up here in a second. And Ouida is the eldest daughter of Miriam and James Ferguson, better known as Ma and Pa Ferguson, who were both former governors of Texas. And Ma Ferguson was governor at the time this footage was shot in 1926. But that was Athena Frizzell with the 1926 home movie from the Belle County Museum. Next, Tammy Executive Director Caroline Frick shares a couple of favorites from the Herrera family collection. She also talks about how the introduction of videotape completely changed the home movie game. Let's roll the clip.
One of my very favorite home videos in our collection comes from El Paso, the Herrera family. And out of that collection, I particularly love their film, I Love Luce, which is a home video version, essentially, of I Love Lucy. They use the idea of the sitcom as kind of a structure for how they were editing more mundane aspects, right, of home video. And it is the most affectionate, creative, fun approach. And it allows you to see what the affordances of home video to this kind of domestic or amateur movie making era or kind of field. What's fun about it is for those of us that can remember the explosion of interest in home video in this period, they really take advantage of it. From an archival standpoint, for Home Movie Day, what often happens with Home Movie Day is we don't really think about home video and the impact of home video specifically. There's a tendency, I think, to think about the kind of 1940s and 50s, this kind of post-World War II era. But home video is this fascinating capsule of pre-kind of iPhone era, where we're really seeing the joy that home video brought to so many people in capturing key moments of their lives.
Hi folks, my name is Luz.
And my name is Jesus.
And we are the Herreras. We hope you like our show.
We produced this little movie for you to remember us, to say hello, and for your edification. Oh, these are our children. We no longer have them. We found it was cheaper to keep pictures rather than feed them. The IRS just didn't give us a sufficient deduction. But
they are included in our show, though, just so that we could remember them.
Who?
Our kids.
Oh, yes. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Véngase para acá. Alejandro. Alejandro. Peekaboo. Mijo.
Buried within this collection was also a home video that turned out to be an advertisement for a very beloved El Paso car dealership. And we thought, what is this doing in here? And so again, it's not a home movie, but I think it's this great actually evidence of how home movies can be seen in all these different genres. The daughter of the Herrera family actually performed in this car commercial, and it's one of my very favorite films in the entire collection. Not necessarily a home movie, but for them, this car commercial is a home movie. So Hola Dick Po is, again, iconic in the El Paso area, and obviously iconic for the Herrera family as well.
Hi folks, I'm Dick Poe. Have you got $1?
The all-new Dick Poe Toyota Paisano Montana grand opening continues with new 89 Toyotas, only $1 down. Buy your new Tercel, only $1 down, $159 a month. Or the new Toyota truck, $1 down, $179 a month. Hurry in for best selection, lowest prices, and $1 down at the all-new Dick Poe Toyota Paisano at Montana.
Dick Poe Toyota and family of dealerships saves you money.
That was Caroline Frick with a couple of 1980s home videos from the Herrera family collection. Our next video was chosen by Tammy's head of development, Tara Elgin-Hawley. She chose a 1940s home movie from Beaumont. Let's roll the clip.
I chose a home movie from the Yount Mannion collection. a family, an oil family from Beaumont, a wealthy oil family, and enjoyed this evocative image of a baby in a beautiful little buggy with probably a grandmother. A few minutes later, you see an image of other family members in a beautiful kind of bucolic scene. At first, I picked it because it was historic and lovely to look at. And as I thought about why I picked it, I realized that I was a little nostalgic for the fact that in my own family, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of photographs and letters and ephemera, but no film. So it made me happy to see that other families had this history that they could look back on, and it made me value the work that Tammy does.
So, home movies like that one also document the reality of wealthy white families predominantly employing Black domestic workers. As a 1940s home movie, all we can learn from that. But that was Tara Elgin Holly with a 1940s home movie from the Yount Mannion Films. Next, we hear from Tammy communications manager Ryan Britton, who also edited this reel together and is producing tonight's stream. Let's roll the clip.
I'm Ryan, and I'm communications manager for the Texas Archive of the Moving Image. For Archive Dive Home Movie Edition, there is one home movie that really sticks out for me, and it's a home movie that's a fairly recent digitization for us. We did it just earlier this year. The film is called Tom Breaks the Diving Board. It's a 1976 home movie from the Oley collection, the Oley family. So the title tells you exactly what's going to happen. There's no mystery, there's no doubt as to what's going to transpire. You just watch and you wait for it. So as you wait for the not if but when the diving board breaks, you see this narrative slowly unfold. It's a perfect day, everybody's having fun and getting along, and Tom decides to have a little too much fun. And then there's the aftermath. There's a lot of natural storytelling in this silent film, and there's a great big payoff. Poor Tom.
That was Ryan Britton with a 1976 home movie from the Oley collection. Tammy's digital preservation specialist, Austin Miller, shares his second pick next. Let's roll the clip.
Hi, my name is Austin Miller. I'm actually coming to you from a sister organization, Marmia. I'm out of town right now, so I'm phoning in this video introduction. The second film that I've chosen is from a collaboration with the Texas Surf Museum. These were some films that we digitized for them that are part of their permanent collection. I'm not sure what year we digitized it. This was actually from prior to my tenure here with Tammy. But this is some really, really cool footage from the late 70s. I believe it was shot in 1976. We're just calling it Skateboarding and Seagulls. But what this is a really interesting look at the early days of what we consider the dawn of modern skateboarding. If you've seen the documentary Dogtown and Z-Boys, this is that era of skateboarding when people are first starting to explore surfing in pools, that kind of thing. And we're not in a pool here, but what's really interesting about this footage is that, a lot of times when we think about this moment in the history of the sport, we're talking about the West Coast. We're talking about California and LA and the things that the Dogtown skaters were doing. And, here's just another glimpse at some people that we don't know who they are in another part of the country who are clearly influenced by what they saw in Skateboarder magazine and, trying it themselves here. So really interesting to see these kind of surfing maneuvers that adapted to skateboarding.
That was Austin Miller with a 1976 home movie from the Texas Surf Museum. These were all great picks, but I'm in charge of this rodeo. So I'm going to close tonight's program with another of my favorites. Our final home movie is a 1990s home video from the Tom Wright collection, a video that also made quite a stir on Tammy's TikTok channel. Let's roll the clip.
I'm looking. I'm doing it right now.
I'm at the Preezy home now.
The who's home?
The Preezy's home.
I'm not a Parigi.
I'm at the Preezy's and the Wright's home.
Oh.
And the dogs are in the back, they're real mean. And
The dogs are not mean.
they're just kind of mean. And then
Well, tell me a little bit about everyone in your family.
Sathy's a Capricorn, and he's a fighter. My mother, she's a griper and she's a house cleaner. My dad loves to walk and he plays the guitar. And my dogs love to chase the cat and the cat loves to hide from the dogs. And I love to get up on Saturday mornings
And do what?
and watch cartoons. Seth!
Where's he going?
Look at him.
Seth.
This is the little baby Capricorn Seth petting a dog. Nobody knows who he is, but he's just a little baby Capricorn.
Go get him out of the street.
Okay.
Papa Bear calling Capizio. Come in, Major Donatello.
Here we go to Mother's house,
Come in,
where she's drinking some Coke. She's very wild. And here's the little baby brother saying Coke. Here we're fixing to make that great, wonderful house of cookies. Now let's go upstairs.
No, I want to go upstairs.
Okay,
Go
come in
upstairs.
here.
And what were you telling me about your room?
My room looks atrocious, but hey, it all looks the same.
Well, show me around. Wait a second.
This, we have the hall to nowhere, except toys and coats. Here, we have the game hall. We have the coats, we have some little baby boots, we have my clothes. And over here, we have Smurfs to pop. That's atrocious. It gets your mom mess. And here we have Seth's little baby crib. Here, we have my big water bed. Now let's go in here in the bathroom.
Wait.
Here, we are in the bathroom. This is the light. Now, this is the garbage can leading to nowhere. Let's go in here. I know, folks, it looks atrocious, yes. Looks like they got out of bed on the wrong side or something. But here it is. Mama's shoes, Tom's shoes, big pile, little pile. All looks the same.
I joined Tammy in 2014 and have watched a lot of home movies in the intervening years, but I vividly remember seeing this one for the first time. I called everyone in the office to my desk because everyone needed to watch it immediately. I particularly love how quickly Zachary here adopts a lively broadcast personality as he takes us on a tour of his house. When he's first handed the microphone, he seems very unsure about what he's supposed to do with it. And it's just like a switch clicks in his head and then he adopts this whole persona. And then the East Texas accents are so great. I quote, he's a Capricorn and he's a fighter and atrocious regularly. But I also feel like this home movie demonstrates the immense value of even the most quotidian of home movies. Home movies don't need to capture historical events to be of archival significance. You know, everything matters. But that's a wrap. Thank you for joining us. I want to thank the Society of Southwest Archivists for their support in making Archive Dive possible. I also, of course, want to thank our contributors who shared tonight's featured collections with us as part of the Texas Film Roundup program. If you are interested in contributing your home movies to the Tammy collection, not to mention get that free digitization, you're in luck because we are accepting materials for this year's Texas Film Roundup right now, October 5th through Saturday, October 30th. Registration and additional details can be found at texasarchive.org/round-up. I will also say that if you enjoyed going behind the scenes with Team Tammy tonight, please consider sending us a tip. We take donations via texasarchive.org/support-us, or you can text Texas Archive to 44321. Have a good evening, everybody.